Welcome to a brand new world in Valheim. We are starting fresh today with absolutely nothing. But in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to turn this piece of land into this. Alright, so you guys just saw the Fisherman's House right on the water, which we'll be building today. But this is only the first build of many in this area. We'll actually be building an entire village here over time. But more on those plans later on. Let's get to building. Alright, so plan and land. This is my favorite part of a large project. This is where you can really come up with the vision for everything. Now, the first thing I think of for a plan would be to kind of make those canals a little bit better. They're a little small, they're shallow, they're not very wide. So that's what I did first things first, widen up all the rivers, deepen them up. And then what I did is I came up with just kind of some blueprints, just some very simple frames for where I'll have some bridges later on. Alright, so you can see I've got a couple different bridges planned. Probably won't do all of them, but I just kind of decided where bridges might look good. I've got the one over there on the left, which you already saw. We've got one kind of raised bridge here, a little dock right there, a bridge going through a rock, which would be really cool. I don't think I'm going to have boats coming down this way anyway. And then there's a bridge even all the way at the very end. We could do like a little small one. So these are all just kind of basic plans for what I might do with the river. Now it's time to get to building. Check it out. The first thing I wanted to do was to get started with the docks. Now the docks are kind of necessary here before we get started with the Fisherman's House because I really wanted to have an idea of where the different houses were going to be in this area of land. Alright, so for my new dock method, just to keep it short, but to tell you guys what I'm doing, basically I'm just rotating each floor one time to make this really cool kind of flowing dock structure. Every once in a while you'll have some difficulties placing one, but you can see here I just raised a little bit of ground and then boom, I'm ready to go. You know, after building in the plains and the mountains, I really thought PvE wasn't going to be a problem here in the meadows, but these necks, man, let me tell you, these guys are always in the way. Alright, so for the final bit of dock, I needed to create a new method for creating that nice flowing curve. You can see I'm working with a big giant rock here. I can't place the floor panels smoothly into it, so I had to actually create a frame using poles and beams up above it to get that same kind of curving, flowing dock style. Alright, so I finished up the docks with some nice 45-degree angle beams and also a railing so that you couldn't fall into the water. And then you can see we've got some windmills placed. The 5 windmills in the front are going to be the 5 themed houses for the village, and the windmill in the back will be the town hall. Now it's time to get started on the construction of the Fisherman's House. First things first, I wanted to make a blueprint. So here it is. In the back we have a chimney. We've also got the entrance and the exit. In the center, we've got the plans for the main body of the house. And up here in the front, we have just a basic little dock, which will be expanded in the future. Now, next I needed to decide the height of the build. The entrance and the exit needed to be slightly shorter than the main build itself. And then of course the chimney needed to be taller than everything. So that was kind of my criteria for deciding the height. You can see up in the front, we've got these wooden X's here. These will actually support the kind of unique roof that'll be over the deck outside. We'll talk about that more in just a little bit. Alright, so next I wanted to get more of the structure up. So I built up the walls and I built up the floors, and also I got to work on the roof. If you've seen any of my builds before, you know that for the roofs, I like to create a little bit of a frame sticking out from the build so that the roof is actually wider than the build. You can see I did this just by using little 1-meter beams, placing them away from the wall, and then filling in the gaps with more beams. Alright, so for the roof, you can see that I went ahead and built it. It's very simple at the moment. It connects right into those little frames that I made that stick out from the main blueprint. You can see we've got 45-degree angle roof pieces that lead into 26-degree angle roof pieces. At the very top of the main roof, you can see I also decided to add just a quick little extra feature there, kind of some extra ventilation, stuff like that. That same feature I put on top of the chimney also. Alright, so next we want to add some details to this very plain build. The first details I usually add are a nice trimming to my roof. For the entrance and the exit, I decided to do this trim right here where I'm using the angled beams matching up with the roof, and you can see I'm just crisscrossing them all the way up. So on the bottom it's 45 degrees, and then when you go up it's matching the roof, so it'll be 26-degree angle crisscrossed beams. Now as for the main build structure, I went with a more kind of classic roof trim, which is where I just free place beams on the outside, kind of a little bit lower than the actual roof itself, and then I just add a nice X in the middle, and boom, you've got a nice trimming. And then of course I did the same thing to the chimney roof, so I found the beams which match the angle, which are 26 degrees, and I just kind of free placed them on the outside. Now I had tried a few different designs with the chimney, so I had all these misplaced stones and weird things, so this is when I went back and I just made a nice bricklaying pattern with my stones. Alright, so next we're going to build the angled roof over the outdoor deck. Now I like to do this by going from 45-degree angle pieces to 26-degree angle pieces, but you can do this however you want. This type of roof though comes with a few problems. I'm going to show you guys the solutions to those problems right now. Alright, so I think I found a way to explain this. If you look at this right here, the angled roof, this is the first form of it. It looks a little bit funny, but this is where you actually have to start. So 3 problems. First of all, we've got a massive hole in the back of the roof. Second, we have overlapping roof panels at the top. And third, we've got roof panels which are sticking out of the frame of the roof. The first solution, which is for filling the hole in the back, is really cool because we've actually already done it before. You can see all I'm doing here is creating a trim on this roof, just like we did on the rest of the roofs. Now, of course, this one is a little bit trickier to get lined up just right. It's going to take you a few tries, but once you get it lined up, that hole in the back will be completely covered and you'll have a nice trimming layer over your roof. Next, we have the overlapping roof panels at the top. Get rid of those and then pull out a 26-degree angle roof peak, and you're going to want to free place this into the wall. Make sure it's low enough to where it's actually touching the other roof panels. And finally, we have the roof panels that are sticking out of our frame. What you want to do is you actually want to get rid of them, and then you want to do something that a lot of people don't even know is a thing. I think a lot of people have done this on accident before, but they don't realize that there is actually a use for being able to overlap roof panels. So get rid of it, and then you see I can place it, and then I just scoot it over into the other roof panel. Alright, so from here I decided to finish up the roof entirely. I changed out the dark wood trimming to just regular wood. I thought it looked a little bit nicer. And then of course I also added on some extra trimming to the roof itself. Alright, so this next part is a little tricky. We could technically skip it. I mean, we're pretty much done with the main structure, but personally, I think we could add some more details. So for the first detail, I went ahead and I added a little roof over the entrance and the exit. You can see it right here. It's pretty simple, nothing special, just 26-degree angle roof peak over the top. And then over here, I decided to add some windows to the walls. Now, this was tricky. This is one of my favorite window designs, and I really wanted to use it, but I couldn't. And I'll explain why in just a moment, but let's talk about the window. The window is free-placed logs on top of the wall. So the window itself sticks out, it looks real. Even the shutters are angled to look real. You actually have to go inside to put the shutters back because of how they're angled. If you look at it from the inside, the window looks really cool too because there's a little ledge there to get access to the window, but the problem is in this design, I didn't really have enough room there. I felt like it just looked like this window was really crammed into a small space. So I came up with a more simple design. You can see I traced a window with a diamond here, and this window is built into the wall instead of sticking it out. And this way I still got to add my window, and I also got to add some details, but it wasn't too much. Next, I wanted to add some details to the chimney, so I added these big X's which kind of wrap around the chimney, and then I also added in a nice little trimming up here on the top. Alright, so for this wall, I had plenty of room to work with. So you can see on the back, in the actual wall, I've got kind of a diamond shape, and then out in front, free placed out of the wall, we have another diamond, even free placed frame around the door itself, just to create a bunch of details. Now, the exterior of the main structure is done. We've got all sorts of details everywhere. The walls are detailed, the roof trimmings, everything I think is looking good. Now it's time to build the outdoor areas. We've got 3 of them, the entrance, the docks, and the exit, and then we'll move to the inside, to the interior of the build. Alright, so next I wanted to get started with the outdoor areas. The first one was the front entrance. I knew at the start that I wanted to make a design like this, with a bunch of little like circles or semicircles all over the place, but I wasn't sure where I was going to put the circles yet. I started clearing land, and that's when I realized at some point that I should use this rock right here as my centerpiece. This was here naturally, I did not put this here, and I just kind of decided to use it, and I figured it would be really cool to have a staircase wrapping around it. So that's what I did. You can see right here, I'm taking the staircase and I'm putting it really far back, actually into the ground at the moment. And the reason I did this is because I wanted you to have to walk by the rock to get to the stairs. So the rock still remains like the centerpiece, like the thing you're looking at, and then the stairs are kind of behind it. They're just there for the functionality. Next, I used the stone pave feature right up to the edge of those staircases, and then after that, I went ahead and I started building up my first, I guess you could say, proof of concept with these little semicircles. I just used the 1 meter tall poles and the 1 meter beams to create a little bit of a railing, and then I broke up this railing on this one actually and decided to put a diving board on this side. This is the Fisherman's House. I think out of any of the other themed houses, this guy uses the water the most, so why not have a diving board? Now, originally where that diving board was, I wanted to put a bench, so I went over here to this semicircle and I added the little bench semicircle. Next, I wanted to have just a quick little semicircle that was kind of almost like a garden, so I just planted some things that would end up with flowers on top of them to look like a garden. And then after that, I decided to add 2 more semicircles to the mix. So in total, we actually have 5 which make up this area. You can see one of them I decided to turn into a staircase, which gets you in and out of the water. Since there's a diving board here, I felt like that was now necessary. And then I went ahead and I brought the stone pave feature down into the rest of the semicircles. You can see I added a bench to that one. And you can see I'm leaving a lot of the grass here. I'm taking out a little bit, but then I'm always leaving some too to keep this area really organic and to keep it really natural. Finally, I just wanted to add a few just quick details to finish it up. And, I just added a little bit of like a curved walkway there. I added some railings on the staircases. And I also apparently just like completely forgot to frame out the flower bed over here. So I went ahead and framed that out too. Alright, so for the most part, this area is done. At the end, I'll come back and add like shrubs and logs and lighting and also a front gate, but for the most part, it's looking pretty good. Next, we're going to move on to the docks. Alright, so the docks. Now the first thing I knew I wanted to do was to expand the docks out to the right and the left. But to me, the original dock, it kind of looked a little weird now because it didn't stick out past this dock. I thought it would be cooler if it did. So that's the first thing I did, is I went ahead and I expanded the original dock out 2 more meters. Then I decided to support the new docks because I couldn't build any further if I didn't support them. So this is the method that I use. I take 1 meter poles and place them at the top. That will allow you to place your core wood poles right into them. And then you can just place your core wood poles into the ground below. Now you can see I'm having some difficulties here. The way to solve that is to raise the ground and then boom, they'll pop right into place. Alright, so basic shape of the docks done. It goes out pretty far into the water, which I wanted for the Fisherman's House, and it's already looking pretty good. Next, I just needed to add a few more details to really bring it all together. So the first thing I wanted to do was kind of fill in the corners with 26-degree angle X's. I thought that would look pretty cool, and here's a picture of how it looks. I do think it looks pretty cool, but the problem is this. The corners are now sticking further into the design than I originally planned. In the inside of the design on the straight sections, I wanted to have details too, but now these corner sections kind of stick into that. So I'll show you an example of what I'm talking about. So here's me trying to put in the extra details in the straight sections. And you can see I'm right up against the X's on one side, and on the other side it's completely open, so it's not symmetrical. So basically what this means is that I have to expand the docks once again. Alright, so check it out. The docks are in. Now if you look at the straight sections, you can see I've got these little overhead kind of features going now. Next to these overhead features, you can see each of them has an opening. This is the reason why I wanted to expand the docks so that I could keep this very symmetrical. Then of course we've got the corners filled in with 26-degree angle X's, and then you can see even on the openings, I've got staircases to help you get in and out of the water if you need to get in and out of the water. And then of course I have item frames as well, kind of around on the docks with fishing poles in them, ready to do some fishing. Alright, now it's time to head over to the back door where we're going to do the final outdoor spot, the cooking area. Alright, so the first thing I needed to do was to bring the land back up to the edge of the house. You know, like I've said plenty of times before, this is the fisherman's house. This guy really uses the water a lot, so I just wanted to bring the water all the way up to his house. So next I started building the actual structure for the outdoor cooking area. First of all, we've got a staircase going down towards the water, and then up here I wanted to have some sort of infrastructure where we would have the cooking area. So I decided to use the same semicircles as before over in the front of the house. I put a couple of them down, and then I decided to leave one area without it where I put 2 stone ovens. Over here I tucked a little hearth in with some cooking racks. You know, I've got the metal one and also the wooden ones. And then you can see we've got 2 other semicircles to work with. This one I decided to put a table and a few chairs. And this one I decided to put 2 cooking pots and 2 campfires. Now later on I would remove one of the stone ovens and one of these cooking pots because I felt like they were kind of redundant, and I would put extra other details, but you'll see that in the final cinematics. The last bit of infrastructure that I wanted to add to the area is a little bit of a roof over the table. I thought this would be kind of cool. It would keep the table and the chairs fresh, and also it would be just like a little covered outdoor eating area. You can see I decided to go with these kind of wild supporting posts, which are completely unnecessary, but I think they look kind of cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the outdoor area. Other than this, I basically just took out my cultivator, added some grass and some greenery, and also I took out my the paving stone feature and added some of those nice paved stone roads for this little enclosed area. Alright, so this is so cool. This is when we connect the house up to the water even more. Now, I decided to build it like this just because I felt like it would be kind of easier, but it really doesn't matter. You can build it in whatever order you want. If you want to clear this land out at the very beginning, you can, but either way, you get this really cool effect where you can see part of the house is now sticking out over the water, just really giving you those fishing house type of vibes. Alright, I hope you guys like the exterior of the build. So many things going on out here. Of course, like I've been saying, at the end I'll come through and add more details, but for now, let's head to the interior. Now, it's already done. I think the easiest way to do this is just going to be to take you guys on a nice tour through the inside. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Alright, so check it out. Coming in from the front entrance, you can see on the left side we have a large staircase which leads up to the bedroom. We'll check that out in a moment. Over here on the right side we've got some cabinetry. On the top you can see we've got some kind of hanging cabinets from the ceiling. Love that. Over here in the middle of the room we kind of have the central hearth or the fireplace with a bunch of details up above just to add a little bit to it. Even fishing poles on the walls since this is the fisherman's house. Here we have the dining room with 2 dining room tables and some fermenters. Over here we have a little workshop with a workbench and a forage table setup. And then as you go up the stairs, you can see there's a nice dividing wall between the rest of the space and here, which is the bedroom. Alright, that is that for the video. If you want to stick around for like 10 more seconds, you can see the showcase of the build with all the plants and lighting and everything in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. More coming soon on this build project right here. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, as always, have a good one.